In today's video, we're diving into one of the most twisted and disturbing cases you've ever heard. The house at 1470 Sunnybrook Drive in the United States used to be a cozy spot for dinners and dreams of youth. But on a calm summer night in 2018, it was quickly the site of a terrible disaster. It's important to know who Stephen Freeman was before we talk about that terrible night. He used to live in that house. Stephen was born on January 1st, 1995, in Thomasville County, Georgia. Hard times with money shaped his early years. After only a few years, his family moved to Griffin City to find better prospects. It was a warm and caring place for Stephen to grow up. In that very house, Stephen's parents worked very hard to give him and his bigger brother the best start in life possible. It was made sure that the boys had everything they needed, not just worldly things, but also emotional and spiritual things. That kind of upbringing was quickly clear in Stephen's attitude. During his childhood, he was happy, and people were drawn to him easily. He always had a smile on his face and was happy. Stephen always found a reason to be positive, no matter what would happen. His happy personality came from a deep love for his family, especially the bond he had with his mother. Stephen was very proud of her when she decided to go back to school and get a better education. Her determination gave him a lot of strength. Stephen wrote her an emotional letter on the day she got her diploma, telling her how proud he was and thanking her for everything she had done for him and his brother. Not long after that, Stephen started to have another important friendship. Mary Catherine Higdon was a friend of his who was 1 year older than him. They met in high school. They became close quickly because they liked the same things and were both outdoors. Before we continue, I'd love to know, where are you tuning in from? Whether you're watching from home, work, or on the go, drop your city or country in the comments below. It's always amazing to see how far these stories reach. And if you're enjoying this deep dive into true crime, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Now let's get back into the case. Mary Catherine liked camping, and she often went into the woods with Stephen and his close group of friends for the night. It wasn't just that she and the other people in the group liked the same things. Her confidence and willingness to be open also played a big role. She wasn't scared of rough terrain or guns, and the fact that she was at ease in those situations made her stand out. The people who knew Stephen quickly became close to her because they saw how she made him happy. Soon, she was always at every group event, but their relationship wasn't just limited to weekend trips. The fact that Stephen and Mary Catherine had similar childhoods also made them close. She grew up in a loving home and was known for singing and dancing with her family when she was young. She made a big impact on everyone, especially Stephen. She was active, creative, and loved animals and nature very much. As the couple became adults, they started to build a life together, away from their families. Stephen and Mary Catherine moved in together after ending high school. Stephen got a job with a company that fixes roofs, and Mary Catherine got a job as an assistant teacher at a preschool nearby. Their relationship grew with them over time. Stephen was 23 years old, and Mary Catherine was 24 years old in 2018. They had been together for 7 years, which is a long time to go through all the feelings that come with being alone together for a long time. Like many couples, they had arguments from time to time. Arguments sometimes turned into major fights, and there was even a short split. It was like nothing had ever broken between them. They always found their way back to each other after being apart. Each hard time made them want to stay together even more. Over time, both families came to accept their relationship. Mary Catherine often went to Stephen's house on Sundays to eat with his family. That closeness went all the way down to the family ties. Stephen's mom loved Mary Catherine a lot and treated her like a daughter. Each family would get together as a whole during the holidays. Every party was fun, but Christmas was always the best because it was held in the warm house on Sunnybrook Drive. But not every Christmas get-together was peaceful. On the night of August 1st, 2018, everything changed in that very familiar house. The street was quiet at 11 p.m., but sirens could be heard and red and blue lights flashed across the windows. There was silence as an ambulance and police car pulled up in front of 1470 Sunnybrook Drive. It became clear right away what had caused such an urgent reaction. An upset woman named Mary Catherine had called emergency services several times. Her voice broke as she tried to explain what had happened in the house they had lived in together for years. In between gasps and tears, Mary Catherine told everyone that she had shot her boyfriend by accident. She talked about a crazy scene while crying and said she was only trying to give Stephen a gun. It went off by itself as she passed it over. She said she didn't know the gun was loaded. When the police arrived, Stephen was found lying still on a cushion in the middle of the living room and not moving. Mary Catherine was on her knees next to him, crying wildly and calling his name. She was very upset. Mary Catherine fought back when police tried to move her out of the way so rescuers could help Stephen. She wouldn't leave his side, so she pushed them away and yelled that she couldn't lose him. After several tries to calm her down, emergency workers were finally able to get in touch with Stephen. He was still alert even though his condition was very bad and his pulse was very weak. The medical staff rushed him to the hospital right away. The police could not talk to Mary Catherine until he was safely taken to a different location. It was hard to talk to each other even back then. Mary Catherine kept crying and having trouble speaking because she was so upset. She could only say again what she had already told the police, that the shooting happened by chance and that she had no wish for any of it to happen. Mary Catherine said she hadn't even pointed the gun at Stephen, but it went off by accident, according to what she said next. The bullet hit him in the upper chest, hurting him badly near the neck. Paramedics tried to stop the bleeding right away, but there was already too much blood loss. The hospital said Stephen was dead just before midnight. While Mary Catherine was still in shock, detectives at the scene started to notice that her story didn't make sense. There were some physical signs that something else might have happened before the shots. At the same time, the cooking area looked like it was a mess. There were pieces of food all over the counters and on the tile floor. A few chairs were knocked out of place, and many things had fallen off the shelves and were lying all over the place. It looked like there had been a heated fight, possibly with physical violence before the shooting. As the police looked more closely at the scene, they also noticed that Mary Catherine's breath had a strong alcohol smell. She spoke in broken words that didn't make much sense because she was still very emotional. Because of what happened, the police chose to take her to the station to question her further. She didn't fight back and left the scene with them in silence. In the questioning room, Mary Catherine said again that the whole thing had been a terrible accident. It was made clear that she had no plans to hurt Stephen in any way. He was the most important person in her life for years, and she said there was no reason she could ever seriously hurt him. In order to back up her story, she told the police that she and the man had always liked guns and shooting together. She said that they had gotten a lot of guns together, but they always kept them in safety mode and never loaded them ahead of time. Mary Catherine made it clear that she was shocked to learn that the gun had fired at all. As the questioning went on, though, her story about when the gun went off started to change. Now she said that the gun went off when she threw it to Stephen. People did notice this new feature. Her new story was different from what she told police at the scene of the crime, where she said she was just giving Stephen the gun in a normal way. Right now, she was saying that she had thrown a gun at him. Because of this contradiction, detectives had to look at the whole case again. They saw that Mary Catherine was used to having guns around. She worked at a preschool in the area and also had a second job at a gun store close. Also, Mary Catherine wasn't just comfortable with guns, she had been trained to use them properly. She said that what she knew about guns was even better than Stephen's. As someone who worked in a store that sold guns, she had to know all the safety rules about how to handle and store weapons. Because of this, detectives, many of whom had spent years learning how to keep guns safe, found Mary Catherine's story harder and harder to believe. For someone who had official training and worked at a gun store, throwing a loaded gun across the room was not only careless, it was also intentional. It put herself and the person across from her in danger. For them, this wasn't a frightened reaction. It was a clear breach of basic safety rules that everyone who uses a gun is supposed to follow. The detectives changed their plan based on this evaluation. One of them went up to Mary Catherine and told her straight out that they didn't believe what she was saying. People said she wasn't telling the truth, and the problems were pointed out one by one. There was a lot of chaos in the kitchen, she smelt like booze, and she had said different things earlier. The stress was felt right away. Though the questions were getting tougher, Mary Catherine broke down in tears. For the police, this was the dramatic moment when she admitted she had pulled the trigger out of anger. In a strange twist, she confessed right as a technical problem happened in the questioning room. The sound system stopped working while the video kept recording. Because of this, the tape didn't record anything Mary Catherine said, even when she admitted she had fired the gun. It was clear that the investigators were upset that one of the most important pieces of evidence would not be allowed in court. In spite of this, the probe kept going. After being caught, Mary Catherine was officially charged with murder. The prosecutors thought there was enough proof to move forward with the case. Along with physical evidence and a clear purpose, the prosecution put a lot of weight on the fact that her statements were contradictory. Based on this, the police said Mary Catherine knew exactly what she was doing when she fired the gun. She dealt with guns at work and often talked about them with a lot of knowledge. For them, what she did that night wasn't a momentary mistake in judgment. It was a choice she made on purpose. There were doubts about the gun itself. The oil on the inside of it suggested that it had been prepared ahead of time and not just left sitting around after a terrible accident. The fact that she had worked hard to make dinner that night added to their idea. Because she loved him, she made Stephen's favorite meal, grilled beef. But in a matter of minutes, things got out of hand. There was a gunshot, food was all over the kitchen, and Stephen Freeman was never seen or heard from again. As the investigation grew, a dedicated group called out to the couple's close family and friends to see if they could speak about their relationship. Everyone was shocked when they heard that Stephen had died, and almost all of them warned the same thing. They couldn't believe this had really happened, and it was even harder for them to believe Mary Catherine's account, since she was the only one who was there when it all happened. These were not the first times that Stephen's friends had heard him say that Mary Catherine had pointed a gun at her man. During their relationship, she did this more than once, which made people closer to them more worried about how unstable their relationship was becoming. At first, it looked like things were pretty calm between them. They loved nature together and spent time camping, taking care of pets, and getting to know each other. But things began to fall apart after only a few years. Mary Catherine yelled more and more, got angry quickly, and often lost her cool over small things. These events made Stephen feel like he was suffocating. In order to get some peace and quiet, he often had to leave the flat. He even tried to block Mary Catherine's number at one point, but she kept calling, making it hard for him to get away from the constant stress. This wasn't just said by Stephen. Later, one of his co-workers said that Mary Catherine had called Stephen about 30 times before his shift even started. What was even scarier was that this wasn't just one event. It happened almost every day. In the same time frame, on April 21st, 2018, 3 months before he was killed, Stephen texted a friend. In it, he talked about how Mary Catherine was yelling and holding a gun while running around their flat, threatening to shoot them both. It kept going. After about a month, Stephen sent the same friend another message to tell them that Mary Catherine had taken the gun safety off and racked the slide right in front of him. She had pointed guns at him before, but this time felt very different. His eyes were filled with more than just anger or fear. What he saw made him really think she was going to shoot him. Stephen ended the bad relationship and moved to a new city when he realized the danger had grown too great for him to handle. A good friend offered to let him stay for a while. Stephen was going to pack up his things while Mary Catherine was at work so that he could leave without a fight. The escape was planned for August 3rd, but there were many signs of trouble in their relationship before he could leave. Stephen had never told the cops about Mary Catherine's threats before, but while they were looking into it, the cops found that they had been called to the couple's flat 5 times in 1 year. In some of those cases, the calls were made because of loud fights and other problems in the home. Still, Stephen and Mary Catherine were still sending each other loving texts on July 30th, just 2 days before the shooting. They told each other they loved each other and wished each other a good day. But on July 31st, the next day, everything changed. Stephen had to leave his flat and stay with a friend for a while because of a fight that got very bad. All communication with Mary Catherine was cut off. He didn't answer any of her calls or messages. Stephen was very clear with his mother that he would never go back to that place again. The next day, August 1st, Mary Catherine tried to get in touch with Stephen again. She cooked dinner herself when he didn't answer, hoping that this simple act would bring him home. Stephen didn't say anything and didn't go back to the flat, though. She got mad and called Stephen's mom to find out where he was. During that call, she found out that he had spent the night with a friend named Thomas. Mary Catherine wouldn't stand for what was happening, so she got in her car and drove off to find him. She saw Thomas's car with Stephen sitting in the back seat while she was driving. She pulled up next to him, rolled down the window, and asked him if he was going to come home. Stephen reluctantly agreed and moved into her car after a tense exchange. He was tired and wanted to avoid another fight. What he didn't know was that this was just the start of a well-thought-out trap. Back at the flat, there was a gun ready for him. Following hours, Stephen Freeman was shot and hospital staff declared him dead. At that time, a very important court case began. As the trial started, the prosecutors said Stephen's death was not an accident, but was cruel and planned. They said that Mary Catherine had made Stephen's favorite meal to try to get him to come home. But when he didn't show up, she got angry instead of sad. They used actual proof to back up their claim: blood and grease stains on the bedsheet and the gun. Investigators did a thorough study of the crime scene to build their case. There were stains on the corner of the bed and other places nearby that showed Stephen may have been sitting up straight when he was shot and then fell backwards onto the mattress. One by one, friends, family, and co-workers took the stand in court. Each of them pointed out how unstable Stephen and Mary Catherine's relationship is. Based on what they said, Mary Catherine was always seen as controlling, angry, and very scary to those around her. The lead investigator brought up the fact that Mary Catherine had changed her story 6 times while the investigation was going on. Each version was different, with some only making small changes to the story and others completely changing it. People on the jury had major doubts about her credibility because of these contradictions. The next time Mary Catherine went to court, though, things went in a different direction. She didn't say it was a mistake this time. She said she did what she did to protect herself. Her lawyers quickly backed up this claim by giving a whole new account of what happened. They said that Stephen Freeman, who his friends said was happy and liked, was a very different person when they weren't with them. The defense said that Mary Catherine was living with a partner who was violent, demanding, and jealous. They said he told her what to wear and how to act, watched how much she spent, and expected her to write down everything that happened in her daily life. In addition to what she had already said, Mary Catherine said Stephen hit her on the back of the head and kicked her off the bed, causing her to hit her head on a door frame. Stephen is said to have sent her 63 pages of angry, rude, and threatening messages a year ago, which were used as proof by her defense lawyers. These texts were found on one of Mary Catherine's old phones. They were from a short breakup. This is why Mary Catherine decided to defend herself in court. She spoke through tears about how her life with Stephen was a never-ending circle of fear, stress, and exhaustion, a living hell. It was her job to arrange his clothes and shoes in the exact way he liked them every morning, she said. She also said that Stephen couldn't use the bathroom until it was cleaned and ready. Mary Catherine told the judge that Stephen often accused her of cheating, which would lead to heated fights that got out of hand. To back up this story, her lawyers showed her a number of text messages that they said Stephen had sent. He told her in one message that he would come home and pay her if she brought up his personal life again. That night, he said he would come back because he missed her, and when he did, he would take her to what he called the Red Room. Mary Catherine told him that the Red Room wasn't a real place, but rather a phrase he used to describe nights when he allegedly beat her and tied her up in different rooms of the house. She sobbed as she said Stephen made her have sex twice, even though she had made it clear she didn't want to. Even though she said no, he kept going. She said that one of those times happened soon after they got back from a trip to Disneyland. She said Stephen told her that since he had spent a lot of money on the trip, she owed him a lot and should do what he wanted, even though she didn't want to. He then forced her to do it even though she didn't want to. Mary Catherine said in court that what happened on 1st August wasn't because she was angry, but because she was afraid, which had been building up for a while. She told Stephen that night that she didn't want to be with him anymore. She said that his response was very powerful. He hit her and threw the food she had made. Mary Catherine said that's when she pulled out the gun and told him to leave the flat. When asked to explain the last few seconds before Stephen was shot, she said he charged at her, was hit right away, and asked her to call for help. She said that she didn't mean to hurt or kill him because everything happened so quickly, but detectives became less sure. During all of her earlier interrogations, Mary Catherine had never once said that Stephen had attacked her or hurt her. That mistake became a big part of the prosecution's case against the defendant. They made it clear that Mary Catherine had never said she had been abused while she was working with police. There were no medical records that showed she had been hurt, and there were no police reports that backed up her claims of abuse. In answer to the prosecution's question, Mary Catherine said she used to think it was her fault that her boyfriend was being violent, so she told the judge that maybe Stephen wouldn't have been mad if she had been better. She said she wasn't telling the truth about their relationship because she felt ashamed when she was questioned by the cops before. But this explanation was quickly called into question when the prosecution showed an unexpected piece of evidence. The browser history on Mary Catherine's phone showed that she had been to adult websites with violent material just hours before the shooting. During her time as a babysitter, these searches were done. This made the prosecution wonder if someone who said they had been abused would voluntarily look for and watch such material. Mary Catherine replied that people were getting the wrong idea about what was going on. She said that she went to those websites not because she was interested in them herself, but because she wanted to meet Stephen's needs. The defense changed their focus to show patterns that would be common in someone who lived in a violent environment to back their claim that Mary Catherine had been abused. One expert witness said that her behavior was like those seen in people with battered woman syndrome. Prosecutors, on the other hand, said that Mary Catherine didn't show any clear psychological signs of stress. Prosecutors were still not sure about Mary Catherine's actions on the day of the killing, even after these claims. The defense said that she had said she wanted to end the relationship, but they also said that she had tried to call Stephen several times that day. She made him his favorite meal and then went to a friend's flat to try to get him to come home when he didn't come back. The defense said those acts were meant to bring people together, not to fight. The tape of the police questioning of Mary Catherine was one of the most important pieces of evidence, but it couldn't be used in court because it was missing the sound. Even though it was thought that she confessed on the recording, the exact words couldn't be confirmed. Also, there were major problems with the way the gun was handled. Officers admitted that they put the gun in a paper bag to keep Mary Catherine from hurting herself, but they forgot to write down where it was originally located or take a picture of the scene before moving the evidence. These holes in gathering proof and following the rules had a big impact on how the trial turned out. The jury came back to the courtroom in a tense mood after only 4 hours of discussion. Mary Catherine Higdon was found not guilty of all charges. Later, some jurors said that they thought she might have killed Stephen, but that the prosecution had not shown her guilt beyond a reasonable question. So, Mary Catherine was free when she got out of jail on June 26, 2019. But for the people who cared about Stephen Freeman, the decision was very sad. They think that fairness is more than just following the law. It's also about telling the family what they really think. The most important thing is that Stephen's mother spoke out instead of keeping quiet. She has become a strong supporter of campaigns to raise awareness about domestic abuse since her son died. She thinks it's not always easy to spot abuse, and women aren't always the victims. Men can also be hurt. They can be abused, beaten, or scared all the time. She makes it clear that abuse doesn't care about a person's gender. We should remember the name Stephen Freeman as part of that truth because of this. Even though the court's decision is out, the case is still being talked about. There are still unanswered questions, pieces of proof that were missed, and dark corners that were never fully revealed. It all hurts the victim's family and the people in the area. What do you think about this case? Thanks for watching. If this case shocked you as much as it did me, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more true crime stories. I'll be back soon with another case that needs to be heard.